All right, I think we are live here. Welcome everybody to our Basic Agent Training Wednesday night webinar. My name is Jesse McPherson, and I'm so excited to have an opportunity to be your host here this evening. As you are coming on, and I want to welcome all of our agents that are coming on from literally all over the world. But most of our agents that are here in North America, here celebrating this incredible 4-week run that we've had into completing our last week of our Black Friday volume run, ending here on December 18th. But for those of you guys that are in there, go ahead and type in the chat box. We want to know where you're dialed in from, where you're dialed in, where you're logged on from, so we can get a chance to meet you, so we can get a chance to say hi. I know we've got people that are getting logged on and getting set up and coming through the organization and coming through the websites here. But once again, hey, Regina from Bakersfield, welcome. Excited to have you guys on here. Just making sure that we got everything set up here as we get into tonight's conversation on tonight's topic, which is by far one of my favorite topics in the world. Welcome, Colorado. We've got Arizona, Phoenix, Dolores and Michael, welcome. Los Angeles in the house, Michigan. I know we got people that are coming on from all over. So Dan from SoCal, welcome. We've got Mesa in the house, Canada, Hawaii, Chad, Virginia Beach, welcome. We've got some Yuma, Arizona. Chris, welcome to our Wednesday night webinar. So Calgary, welcome, Tracy. I'm sure that's our new Blue Diamond agent. Tracy, congratulations on all your success. NorCal in the house. We've got Maine. I love Secret too, Chris. I do too. The Bradshaws, the DMV, the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia in the house. San Pedro, California, welcome guys. We got more Vancouver, BC, welcome. Awesome. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and tag, share, post so you can get everybody on tonight's conversation. We've got a very important subject matter to cover here tonight as we're heading into this last week of our run into our Black Friday. But for those of you I haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Jesse McPherson. I make my home out here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've been blessed to be a part of this secret community now for the past 5 years. And it's just been a life-changing experience, getting a chance to be connected with so many incredible leaders as far as incredible products, timing, compensation, all the different elements that I think make up why Secret has become so successful. But for those of you I haven't met yet, my background, just so you guys know, was actually in entertainment. Didn't have a business background. I actually started in Los Angeles in this profession teaching dance classes. I was teaching dance classes for a living, and I love that. I just found out you have to teach a lot of those to pay rent, so I was a starving artist looking for a way to go out there and just live a better life. And I know that's what probably most of you got invited on here for. Is it's not just about earning an extra dollar. It's about living a better life and having a better lifestyle to go along with it, and having flexibility and freedom and so many of the things that I believe that every person deserves to have. Yet most people find it struggle, through life financially, trying to figure out how to make ends meet and to get by on the day-to-day. And I can't tell you how many people I meet out there all the time that, you talk to them, especially about an opportunity, they're like, oh, no, I'm good. And they're like, oh, how you doing? Well, another day, another dollar. Or how you doing? Hanging in there. And I'm always like, well, don't let go. I mean, just, no, don't do that. But today what we wanted to do is we have some announcements. We're going to save them for the end of the training. What I want to do here is I want to get into a conversation specifically to talk to you about you. And I know this might not be the topic that you maybe thought we were going to head into tonight, but what I really wanted to talk to you guys about is the personal growth process that I believe that you and all of us are going to really experience as we go through this journey of self-growth and self-development. See, when we come into Secret, we bring kind of our whole bag of insecurities and beliefs and ideals that have gotten us the results that we have in our lives. And one of the things I learned a long time ago, if you want things to change, then you need to change. If you want things to get better, then you need to get better. As Jim Rohn would say, don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And then the winds of life seem to blow the same on all of us, but that's not the winds of life that determine our destination. It's the set of our sail. And that's what I want today to be about, is setting a little bit better sail today than yesterday, or this month than last month, but particularly this year than last year. And as we are approaching 2017 rapidly, we know that there's going to be some exponential growth coming to those that go out there and start planting seeds personally. And I don't know if it was Benjamin Franklin or Abraham Lincoln. I remember they both get quoted sometimes. I'm going to go with Benjamin Franklin today. He said, if I had 4 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 3 hours sharpening my axe and 1 hour hitting the tree. And What I mean by that was working on ourselves. I spend 3/4 of the time working on me and 1/4 of the time working on it, whatever it is. And that it is our business. So what I want to do is kind of run through our process here from our Basic Agent Training Wednesday webinars. If you're not on our Facebook groups, I want to make sure that you guys get up on that. But talking about the process of personal growth and really personal development and what that's going to mean for you and your business, because I believe the most important thing that you can invest in is yourself, because no matter where you go, there you are. And quite frankly, one of the things that was a little hard to swallow in the beginning of my career was that you are a reflection of your business. Everything, good, bad, or ugly. So everything rises and falls in leadership, not some things, everything. So if you want things to rise, you want your bank account to rise, you want your volume to rise, it's going to require you to grow. It's going to require you to stretch yourself, to maybe do something you've never done before, which might put you in a state of uncomfort for a short period of time until what was once uncomfortable then becomes comfortable. So the great Jim Rohn said it right here. If you want to be wealthy, learn this lesson well. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Skills makes labor more valuable. Skills makes labor more valuable, meaning the things that you're working on. And really, if you were to kind of put this into different categories, this number one is be, do, and have. So who am I? What's the most important thing to me? What do I need to do? What are the actions, okay, in order to have the results or the outcomes that I'm looking for? Unfortunately, most people have this backwards, is they think about what do I need to have so I can go do something so I can become someone. Really, this is when things started to change for me. It was about a year into my career that I started focusing on what I needed to do, okay, and I started focusing on who I needed to become to get the results that I wanted in my life. Because if I was to have you write down everything you've ever wanted between, now and the next 30 years, things you wanted to own, have, experience, do, create, expand on, and you wrote that down, and I said, would it be possible with the person you are today? Some people would say no. I said, well, who would you need to become in order to achieve all these goals that you're looking for in your life? Okay, so this is kind of the process of be, choices, okay, do. These are the impact that you have on the actions, and then you reevaluate. So through this cycle, through this system is one of the things we're going to really talk about here today. But unfortunately, I see most people get started on this kind of emotional roller coaster. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this. People get started in your business, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this is the best thing in the world. And then they do their first wow party, or they get their first cancellation. They're like, I don't think it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, I want to do it. And they're like, wee, and then no, and then wee. And then one day they're so excited, the next day they want to quit the business. One day they're really excited, they're going out to get the tattoo, and they got the lighter, they're like, secret for life. And then the next day they're calling their sponsor being like, it's not going to happen for me. Or these things don't work, or whatever it is. What I want you guys to understand, don't let your lows get too low. Don't let your highs get too high. This is going to be part of the process. For me, people don't follow people who cannot control their emotions. Can you imagine if your leader one day is like, this is the greatest thing, the next day they're like, I don't think it's going to work. No, we want to follow people that are consistent. So you want to have long-term vision and managing your expectations. Now, what do we mean by managing your expectations? I believe most people's biggest fear when they get started inside of our business is they're not the person that's capable of building this business. And guess what? You're probably right. Just like me, I was not the person capable of building $1 million income when I first got started. But guess what? I started learning. I started growing. Just like the first day you showed up at your job, you probably weren't the person that could do your job successfully. But you started learning and you started applying. And once you started doing these things, you go through these 4 stages, the 4 stages of learning. The first is where you're unconsciously incompetent. This is where you don't even know what you don't even know. It's like a little baby, all right? You don't even know what you don't even know. The next stage is where you become consciously incompetent, all right? This is now where you're aware that you don't know. Know that you don't know. And they say knowing is half the battle. It is true, because as a child, you don't know people are walking around, you don't understand how or why, but then eventually you kind of notice, they're like, hey, these people aren't on 4s, these people are on 2 legs. I want to figure that out. And so you go through your stages. Now, this is where you have to make a decision. The decision gets made is, am I going to cross this threshold to go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence, right? This is where you now know, but it requires so much of your focus, right? You take a look at a child trying to figure out how to walk, and you don't want to interrupt. I remember trying to teach my younger brother how to tie his shoes. And in the beginning, kids don't know that they have even shoes on. And then there's a point where they go, okay, I've got shoes, I don't know how to tie them. And then they go through this process of learning how to tie their shoes, where they become consciously competent, right? But this transition time, it takes spaced repetition, is the mother of all skill. And so what happens, I remember him trying to tie, but it takes all of their, you guys remember, they got their tongue out, they're like, trying to figure out how to make it. And you can't interrupt them, because if you interrupt them, they're like, I'm tying my shoe. Because it takes all of their direction and focus. I can tell you, when you get started in your business, this is going to be similar for you. And so your first presentations, it's going to require all of your focus, your three-way phone call, all those different things you're going to learn in the beginning require your focus. But when you do it over a period of time, eventually you enter the fourth stage of learning, which is unconscious competence. This is where you don't think about it anymore. Like, when was the last time you thought, right, left, right? No, you don't think about walking anymore. You just do it, right? You don't think about tying your shoes anymore. It's not like over the ears, through the rabbit hole, or the bunny ears. You know, remember all those things, right? You just do it. Why? Because you've done it over and over and over and over and over and over, right? So these are the stages that I want each and every one of you guys to get here. But on your personal development journey, there's so many incredible people that you can learn from, and the accessibility of the information now is so widely available. It's crazy. Back in the day, it was, you know, attending events and getting a hold of cassette tapes and CDs was really where we started learning all this information. Most of it you can get from audible.com, or you can start downloading and listening to information because it's the direct access to the source here. And one of the biggest issues that we see inside of our profession is when people get started and they start passing on the information, so much of it gets lost throughout these generations. You know, and if people only remembered 50% of what they heard, and that's not even close to accurate, and it went 1, 2, 3, 4 levels deep, you're talking about people getting 6%, 3% of the information. Success, about 3 to 6%. And unfortunately, most people aren't getting plugged into the direct access, which is why we have these Wednesday night webinars as your direct access here, kind of your direct plug into the source. So that way your group and your agents, it isn't dependent on what you know or don't know, because they can get 100% of the information every single time from people that you know for sure are winning. So even being brand new, you can feel confident of saying, listen, join my team, join my business, because you can be much more successful than me, even much faster than me, because I'm going to connect you with the people that have the results, and it's based on your work ethic. And if we go apply it. Now, okay, during this kind of turning dreams into reality, this is the process. First, we have a dream. Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's time freedom, whatever it is for you. Then we got to put a deadline to it. A dream without a deadline is just a delusion. It's not a goal. All right. So in order to create a goal, it has to have a deadline, it must have a time frame on it. Then we're going to set an action plan and turn it into reality. These are the steps that we're going to be going over in detail next week, over the next couple of weeks leading into 2017, because we don't want you to be just goal setters. We want you to be goal achievers. And how many of you guys know people that have gotten great at setting goals, but then somewhere along the way seem to have lost their way on accomplishing their goals? So these are the things that we want every single person here to be paying attention to. Now, the process of becoming successful, and there are 3 actions to personal development that I think will change your life as they have mine. And I'm going to go through these here real quickly. The number 1 is, what do you read? Okay, reading 10 pages of a good book a day. I learned this from one of my mentors, Mr. Joshua Denny. And one of the things he said many years ago, he said, this is the thing that separates, you know, the leaders from everybody else. They said leaders are readers. Now, the challenge for me was growing up in school. Math was always a little bit easier for me, and English was always really difficult. And I was a little bit young for my grade. And so I remember, you know, when it came to reading, it was a really challenging subject for me. In fact, in the early elementary grades, when the reading subject came up, my reading level was about 2 grades lower. So when subject of English came up, I would actually be pulled out of class with 2 other kids and taken to the class below mine. And so you got to imagine, like, walking out in front of your peers in those important years of your life, when it's like reading came up and it was like, all right, Jesse, time to go. And I'd have to get up and walk out. And then I would go down to the lower grades. And what I related not being able to read well to was being stupid, because I got laughed at, even because it was something that I wasn't good at. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not a reader. I'm not a reader. I'm not a reader. And then I reaffirmed that as I got older. And all of a sudden, I found myself later on in life not being able to read. Why? Well, because obviously I'm not a reader. Duh. And that was a label that I started putting on myself. So I related reading to being stupid or not being able to read well. And, you know, even today, spelling is difficult for me. I make jokes about it because, you know, especially like, you know, you can't spell when autocorrect can't even figure out what you're getting at. You know, right? How many times have you been like, oh, I'm close. I know I'm close enough. Why can't you figure out what I'm trying to say, right? So, but I remember when they said that, you know, leaders are readers, and I was like, I'm gonna prove them wrong. And then I made no money. And so one of the things people say, well, listening. I can tell you something. I'm gonna talk about listening in a minute, but reading changed my life. And in the beginning, it was very difficult. I would read a page and I wouldn't even know what I read. I'd have to read it multiple times. And I remember picking up this book when I first got started. They said, Think and Grow Rich, one of the most important books that you'll probably ever pick up, by Napoleon Hill. And I started it, and I remember getting a couple pages in being like, I don't understand what this guy's saying. And I remember even having to look up words many times. And so that was really where the beginning of my journey started. And then I started picking up books, and John C. Maxwell was one of the ones that was a little bit easier for me. And so what I started doing is I started reading, and that 10 pages a day, easy to do, but easy not to do. But I'll tell you, over the course of a month, that's 300 pages. Over the course of a year, that's about 12 good books. You put 12 good books into any human being, I promise you, they're a different person in a year from now than they are today. Over the course of 5 years, you put 28, 36, 48 books over the course of 4 or 5 years. You put 60 good books over the course of 5 years into somebody, and I can tell you, unbelievable things will happen. And people say, well, I'll just listen. I would challenge you, okay, to go out there and start reading. Why? I'll show me any wealthy entrepreneur on the planet. If you walk into their house and you show them to ask you their library, they will show it off like it's their puppy or their child. You walk into almost anyone broke person's library and they'll show you their DVD or their VHS or their downloaded DVD collection, you know? And the question is what are you putting in? And reading gives us a very different capacity than we do through listening, because most of us do passive listening while we're doing other things. We're not fully engaged where you're fully focused on getting into a good book and reading it. And this is where it started for me. And I just brought some of my favorites off of my bookshelf here today, and I've gotten through now hundreds of books. And even today, it's something that I have to concentrate and mentally focus on. And last year, I said I didn't really like reading, so I started reading publicly online, which was a fun thing for me, and reading through many books. But there were so many books. I remember one of my favorites was T.J. Hoisington, If You Think You Can, If You Think You Can. And there were so many good things in this book, and I started earmarking and dark marking little places. And he said, too many of us never realize our greatness because we get sidetracked by secondary activities. We decide to go after a goal, and before you know it, we start minoring in major things. A man with one watch always knows what time it is. A man with two watches is never quite sure. Oh, I was like, oh, that's a good one, right? I should write that down. You know, and then he said, watch this one. Hell begins on that day when God grants us a clear vision of all we might have achieved, of all the gifts we wasted, of all the things we had done that we did not do. Stop living your life like you have thousands of years to live. Stop procrastinating and start acting now. So how about this? Stopping at third base adds no more to the score than striking out. Oh, some of you guys heard me say that. This is what I got it from a book. You know, made me sound really brilliant though, didn't it? All right, so, and there's so many, I can't, look, oh gosh, all right? So we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people don't feel insecure around you. You were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. As we are let our own light shine through, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Oh my gosh, so many good things. Like, and I can go on and on. How about this book? If you haven't picked up this book, how about this one? Inevitable. One of my favorite things in this book, peer pressure is usually fear pressure, and that never turns out in your favor. All right, but there's different types of pressure, as I'm going to talk about, which is associations and the people you associate with. Instead of associating with people who have my problems, I started associating with people who have my answers, my solutions. I wanted to get around people that were stretching my vision instead of choking my dreams. The people that told me I couldn't do it, wasn't going to happen for me. Those are the people I wanted to get around. I'm going to talk about associations in a little bit, but what a good book. And then I started picking up books like this one, Jim Collins, like From Good to Great, and talking about how good is the enemy of great. Oh my God, such a good book. And then I started picking up Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Cash Flow Quadrant. I started looking at the business of the 21st century of books. Then I started picking up direct selling network marketing books. How about GoPro by Eric Worre? I started picking up books in this category. My First Year in Network Marketing by Mark Yarnell, which is some people like, what is that? Wave 3. I started picking up any book I could find on that subject. I found a lot of people who write about network marketing didn't build a big business though, by the way. Just keep that in mind. It's kind of funny. It's like, oh, those who can't teach apparently. Then I started picking up books on leadership because I found once I got motivated and I started getting that into me and I started learning the things I needed to do, I started building a team. And then what I found out is once I had this team of people, a lot of them didn't do anything. And then a lot of them quit. And then I was like, oh no, what do I do? Come back, right? And I'm trying to get, you know, kind of revive the dead. I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, right? And I'm trying to squeeze all this lemon, you know, out of a, you know, lemon juice out of a lemon that's like, it's done. It's game over, right? And so I realized I had to get more people. Now I wanted to really become a better leader, all right? So I wanted to lead better. So then I started picking up books. I started picking up books like Developing the Leaders Around You. And I started to, well, first I picked up Developing the Leader Within You, because developing the leaders around you, you might want to work on you first is where I kind of started. And then the 5 levels of leadership by John C. Maxwell. And this one, oh my God, there's so many good things in this book. And my books are just tattered up and marked up all over the place. There's so many just crazy things inside of these books that I started reading. Most people are productive only when they feel like it. Leaders produce even when they don't feel like it. I was like, oh man, I only work when I want to feel like it. Oh man, now I got to be better. Attitude. Oh, watch this. Attitude is the advanced man of our true selves. Its roots are inward, but its fruit is outward. It is our best friend or our worst enemy. It is more honest and more consistent than our words. It has an outward look based on past experiences. It is a thing which draws people to us or repels them. It is never content unless it is expressed. It is the librarian of our past, the speaker of our present, and the prophet of our future. That is your attitude. Oh, what a great one, right? I love this one. God creates all people with natural gifts, but he also makes them with 2 ends, one to sit on and one to think with. Success in life depends on which one of these ends you use the most. It's a toss-up. Heads you win, tails you lose. There's only one thing more painful from not learning from experience than learning from experience, and that's not learning from experience. There are no victory at bargain prices. These were the things I started putting at my brain in my early 20s. 15 years ago, I started picking up these books and started reading things like this that changed the direction of my life, because all of a sudden I started understanding when God wants to make an oak tree, he takes 100 years. When he wants to make a squash, it only takes 2 months. When he wants to, so I understood that it was a process. It was going to be a journey for me. If I want to build something successful, I started reading books. Then I started reading books like this. I started procrastinating. How many of you guys have ever done this, right? I know. Some of you guys have a lot, not self-help, you have shelf help. And what I mean by that is shelf help, meaning it just sits on your shelf. You own the book, but you haven't read it. All right? It's not going to help you. All right? So a lot of times to reach the levels of success that you want, you must stand on the books that you read. See, books give depth to a leader. Books give depth to a leader, where all of a sudden, it's not about just changing who you are. It's about having more depth to who you are, more wisdom. So people get around you, they're like, there's something about this individual. They're bigger than just the business. I want to be partnered with them because they have more depth to them. Oh, this book, this one was a doozy. All right, this one got me. John C. Maxwell, talking about today matters. This one got me really good. So he's talking about hoping for a good future without investing in today is like a farmer waiting for a crop without planting any seed. Oh, so true, right? So I love what Gandhi said, if you want to be the change you want to see in the world. There's an old saying that Noah didn't wait for a ship to come in. He built one. Think about it, right? Old proverb. If there is no wind, row. Like, don't wait, all right? Do something about it, right? And so, guys, I wish I could go on and on with some of these books. Then I picked up this book because what I found was this, is that a lot of my friends and family, I wasn't being successful with a lot of them. So, there was a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, which was probably a good book to pick up because I was losing friends and alienating people, and that wasn't helping me move forward in my business. So I needed to start picking up more books. And then I got this one, John C. Maxwell, Winning with People. Good title, right? So I started reading it, and it talked about things like remembering people's names, and it talked about the first person they come in contact with and how to be an influencer in their life. Oh my gosh, there were so many good things in this book. And then this one though, Talent is Never Enough. This was one of my favorite ones, guys. Guys, these are, 10 of 100-something books that I started picking up over the years. People say, how do you read that many books? 10 pages a day. That's it. 10 pages a day, 300 pages a month, 12-something good books a year over the course of a decade plus. See, it's very simple. You can compress decades into days. How? Spend a day reading a book that someone spent decades of their life learning about. That's it. See, that's the situation that people say, how did you get ahead so fast? Okay, so it wasn't that I got ahead so fast. I read from people that got ahead so fast. Like, why would you spend your whole life doing something wrong just to figure out how to do it right when someone else spent their whole life messing it up and you can learn about it in a couple days from a book, right? So talent is never enough. This was a big one for me, just because one of the things I really love that it talked about, which I think is one of the challenges that a lot of people experience, is they feel like either people have it or they don't. Like, you're either going to be successful because you have some special mojo or some pixie dust that got sprinkled on you or some success sauce somehow, those people got lucky. Oh, they have the gift of gab or some of that BS, right? And BS, I mean a belief system that you're holding on to that isn't real or isn't even realistic. But you made up something to say, you know what, let me kind of make it complacent so that way these people have something that I don't. So that's why they're winning and that's why I'm not. When the real bottom line is this, is that you can do this. But it's challenging because it forces you to look at you. It forces you to look at the areas that you got to work on. One of the areas I knew that I had to work on was my work ethic. This one was a big one. The difference between what we do and what we're capable of doing would suffice to save most of the world's problems. I love this one here, talking about that most of us are untapped potential. Life is like a 10-speed bike. Most of us have gears we have never even used, okay? When you discover that you're leading only half a life, the other half will haunt you until you develop it. So I love this one. Most people say they feel burnt out. The truth is that they were probably never on fire in the first place. Oh, death isn't the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we're alive. Without permission, without passion, a part of us becomes dead. And if we're not careful, we could end up with the person whose tombstone read, died at 30, buried at 60. Oh, God. Have you ever been reading a book and you felt like the author just leaped out and just slapped you across the face while you were reading it? I know that's happened to me many, 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 many times. But the question is, these are the books I started putting inside myself, right? But the tragedy isn't that people's lives end too soon, is that they wait too long to start. Oh, there's so, look how many things I have earmarked in this one. It's kind of crazy. How about this one? Helen Keller. Helen Keller. Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved. Gosh, so good, right? So I started reading these things. And these were just the small ones that I started getting into. And I wish I had more time. Like, don't get me started on some of these. I brought over some of my booklets from events that I went to, right? Some Tony Robbins, Date with Destiny. This was just this last year, okay, which is amazing. Unleash the Power Within. Some of the amazing courses that we've been to. We just had a course this last weekend. And courses that, you know, people say, well, those were expensive courses. They say, I can't afford to go. And for me, I was like, I can't afford not to. I mean, literally, what's the price of ignorance? You know, they say ignorance is bliss. If ignorance is bliss, then why aren't more people happy? I mean, really think about that, right? No, ignorance is poverty. Ignorance is racism. Ignorance is intolerance. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about education, but education that's self-education, this personal growth aspect. So number one, I talk about reading 10 pages of a good book a day, something you can do. You can control this. Now, what's amazing is that books are cheap now. You can buy almost anything used on Amazon for next to $1. I mean, seriously, plus $8.95 shipping, but you guys get what I mean, right? You could borrow it. In the beginning, back in the day, we used to make a lot of jokes because you talk about 3% of the wealth in this country is, you know, or 97% of the wealth is owned by 3% of the people. We also used to make a joke that only 3% of the American population owns a library card. That's an actual statistic, you know, which is interesting. I've heard it said, if you really want to hide something from an American, write it in a book. Because guess what? They won't read it. Now, it's crazy today with all the tutorials that you can watch with YouTube. You can find anything. Like, you can literally find out how to do anything, like how to tie your shoes, how to tie a tie, how to make coffee. There's a tutorial on everything you could possibly imagine. We have access to more information than ever before at our fingertips. And yet most people are struggling more than ever. So one of the things I said is, why is it that some people are winning and some people aren't? And so this was it. People say, did this separate me? Yes, yes. So many people have a plan to go out there and an action plan, but for me, I was working on me. I was staying up late working on me. I was doing those extra things. And over the course of the year, too, you might not have seen it in a month. You might not have seen it in a year, but over the course of 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years, I'm a completely different human being. People say, oh, Jesse, he's so good. No, I built this guy. I built him through the books that I read and the audios that I listened to. So 15 minutes of a good audio. Turn your car into a drive time university. I swear, for the first few years, that's all I did. I just listened to audio after audio after audio after audio of anything I get my hands on. Jim Rohn was really where I started. Building Your Network Marketing Business, one of the best CDs I've ever listened to in my entire life, and it's in your kit. We give it to you for free, which is probably the problem. You know, so because if we made you pay for it, you probably treat it more seriously. But the challenge to succeed, I started to listen to things from every person I could, from Dennis Waitley to Bob Proctor, to Mark Victor Hansen, to Jack Canfield, to Brian Tracy. I mean, just mentor after mentor after mentor after mentor. Anybody, Charlie Tremendous Jones, like anybody I could get my hands on. I was putting those CDs in, and I wasn't listening to all the lyrics that I didn't even know or didn't even like. I was listening to stuff that could change me. You know, and it was so funny because I remember some of my friends, especially in the dance industry, they're like, "Oh, you're going to those events, still going to those events, listen to that stuff." They're brainwashing you. I will never forget this conversation. One of my friends was like, "Oh, you're getting brainwashed," and I remember I got angry for like a minute on this because we were in the car for a while, so I didn't want to react. I wanted to respond, but I wanted to react really bad because I wanted to turn into like, you know, the defender man, you know, and be like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. But I thought about it for a quick second, and I was like, he's right. He's absolutely 100% right. They are brainwashing me, 100%. You know why? Because my brain was dirty. It was full of a bunch of garbage and crap that was leaving me in debt, leaving me frustrated, leaving me aggravated, and leaving me overwhelmed. And I needed to wash some of that crap out. And I looked at him, I was like, you're right, buddy. They're brainwashing me. My brain's dirty. I need some, in fact, you should come with me because you got some dirty thinking going on up there. We need to wash some of that stuff out as well. And he kind of laughed at me and he was like, wow, that was a different response than I think he was expecting. But no, in all seriousness, is that junk in, junk out. I mean, you think about it, you know, you get a computer and you get it and it's fresh and it's brand new and it works so quickly. And all of a sudden you get a virus or you get 2 or 3 and it starts slowing down and slowing down and slowing down and bogging down. And you take a look at some of you guys, you upgrade the software on your computer every year. Every year you upgrade the software. When was the last time you upgraded the software on your thinking? Some people never think about this. And it's weird because when we're growing up as children, we expect measurable progress from our children over a period of time. What do I mean? Like for those of you guys that have kids, how long would you let your child stay in 3rd grade? Yeah, about a year, maybe 2 at most. But like you have reasonable expectations for growth over the course of 12 months. And some of you guys right now, once we graduate school or we go to college and it's like, all right, I'm done. Like human beings are weird. We're one of the only creatures on the planet that can consciously choose to be less than we really are. Like think about that. Like nature, nowhere does this happen. Nowhere does a tree grow to this big and it's like, that's good enough. I could get bigger, but I'll just stay here. No, that's not how it works. When was the last time you saw a lion that was like, I'm just shy. I'm just really shy. No, that's not how it happens, right? But we start choosing consciously to be less. And you guys will upgrade the software on your computer every year, but you won't upgrade your thinking? That was the thing for me. It was an upgrade and I needed it constantly. And it's not like well, you're there and you're done. No, it's a constant thing. This is why you see us constantly at events, constantly investing in ourselves. And one of the lessons I learned was invest more in your self-education than in your transportation. Most people want to drive a nice car and they'll invest hundreds of dollars they don't have borrowed on credit for a vehicle that will get them around the block to have other people think they're cool. Okay, but they won't invest a couple $100s in their own self-education. Won't invest $99 to go to an ACT Agent Core training for a couple of days. Okay, won't invest in a book that will change their life. Some people are like, well, I'm just not good at this. I don't have good time. You got other books on time management? There's a lot of them, by the way, right? And you could read one of those and get better. People say, I'm a slow reader. There's books on being a faster reader called speed reading, all right? There's books on everything. So people say, well, I've got too much clutter in my house. There's books on uncluttering your house. There's books on this. There's books on everything. So I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I'm going to keep going because I want you guys to get it. These are the things that changed my life. This was the sharpening of the axe. This was working on me. This was all of a sudden, the person that showed up at that presentation was a different human being than the person was last year. The person that did that meeting, the person that was in that situation, the person that was in that scenario, all of a sudden what was challenging before was easy. All of a sudden what was hard to do was fun. And all of a sudden I looked forward to the next challenge. I looked forward to the next growth. I looked forward to being in a situation, an environment I'd never been in. Because all of a sudden the things that once were uncomfortable became comfortable. And all of a sudden I started growing and the muscle became bigger because that's how you grow a muscle. You break it. And some of us right now, you're going through your breakdowns. And I get it. But you don't get the breakthroughs without going through the breakdowns. See, so many people, they want all the rainbows, but they don't want any rain. And that's just not how it works. In order to get the breakthrough, you must experience the breakdown. What I want you to do is I don't want you to sit there necessarily cry over your breakdown, but what I mean is this is get stuck there going, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. No, it's just time for you to break through. See, for me, that was the situation that I can tell you was so important for me. I had lots of closet crying moments in my career. I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if this can happen for me. I don't know if I'm going to make it. But all the times I went back to the books, I went back to the CDs, I went back to the audios, I went back to the associations. And that's what started happening when I started associating up daily. They say you are the combined average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You are. The challenge was I looked at the 5 people I spent the most time with and I was like, I don't know if this is good. So I needed to change my environment, change my associations. That's why I showed up here. on a weekly basis. I showed up to all the conference calls, all the trainings, all the events. Why? I just wanted to get around people, okay, who had a better example for me to follow rather than the ones that I was just getting stuck with. And so I can tell you, it's a conscious choice that you need to make to decide that you're going to associate up. You're going to associate more. Now, here's the thing. I want you to be careful of this. Some people go, well, okay, I want to associate up. Well, that means I want to live with Josh Denny, because that sounds like the best thing for me to do, you know? And one of the things I quickly realized after a very short period of time is that you are the five people you associate with the most. So these people that are up here, they typically know this. And so what they want to do is they want to create a circle of influence of people above them. So what I found out quickly was like, okay, if I'm trying to associate with them and I'm on a lower scale with them, I'm lowering their associations. So it's like, so why in the world would anybody want in this scale to spend time with me? And what's amazing about network marketing and Secret is that they're compensated to. In fact, you don't have to pay these coaches on these outside programs and these people that say, oh, I've done this or whatever not, that may or may not, usually not, have a track record in doing it. It's they're compensated to. But here's what I found out. What I always tried to do is this. You are compensated based on the value that you bring to the marketplace. If you want more income, you need to become more valuable, okay, to the market. Now, I'm not saying you're not valuable as a friend, as a sister, as a brother, as a parent, as a daughter. I'm talking about financially, the marketplace will pay you based on the value you provide to the market. And so what I have found is that in order to get into the circle of influence of the people who had the levels of success that I was looking to get, my thought was this: I know I'm lowering their ratio. So what can I do to add more value to them? So this is why whenever there was an event, I showed up early, okay? Not because any other reason. I wanted to provide value. I set up. I learned how to set up. I learned how to run events. People say, how did you learn how to run events? I got there early. I stayed late. I did anything I could to add value to the person that I was asking to pour into me. So many people look for help me, help me, help me, help me. And I can tell you, especially when you get to the top level of success, when you have hundreds and then thousands of people asking you for something, it's rare to find the person that says, what can I do for you? Like, it's shocking. Like, I'm gonna tell you, it happens very rarely. But when it does happen, guess what? I found that those leaders all of a sudden were like, this guy's different. No? And all of a sudden, when I called, they wanted to answer my phone call. Why? Because I wasn't asking to get, I started with give. And isn't that congruent with what Isaac Ben Shabbat's family's mentality is about? Is about serving, is service. Service to many leads to greatness. And so there are three things that I want you to be thinking about here in this conversation. Number one, okay, is how can you add more value to yourself? How can you add more value to yourself? Because here's when things are going to get better. When you get better. That's really it. I mean, there's not this whole like, that's it, guys. Now, is it going to happen overnight? No. But these daily actions on a daily basis, if I was reading those pages a day, if I was listening to those audios every day, if I was associating up on a daily basis, if I was doing those things consistently, I can tell you over the course of a month, a year, 5 years, holy cow, you're going to find yourself in a completely different direction, 100%. So who and how can you invest more into yourself? How can you add more value to self? Number two, how can you add more values to your customers? What are ways that you can provide more value to create a world-class customer experience? Think about it. You know, so I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm asking you to be an entrepreneur, not an employee. Employees are told what to do. Entrepreneurs create what to do. So I want you to think about, how can I add more value to my customers? How can I add more value to myself? How can I add more value to my customers? How can I add more value to my agents? How can I add more value to my team? What can I do to be a better mentor, a better leader, a better coach? What information can I pass on to them? Maybe it's not necessarily training. Maybe it's just checking up. How you doing? Maybe it's just finding out what's going on in their life. Maybe it's just creating a dinner, like a Friday night dinner where you get together and you serve them. When was the last time you served your team in some capacity? They had no way to pay you back other than maybe saying thank you, if that. Not for a production, not for a new pen, not for a new rank. When was the last time? I can tell you the Ben Shabbat family has done it every week the last 15 years. Every week. How many times have you done this to your organization? So I want to get more out of my organization. Don't go to get more from your organization. Go to give more to your organization. And when you go to give more to your organization, even if it's not in training, even if it's not in mentoring, even if it's not in coaching, because guess what? That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, is go to them, get a dinner together, put it together, and serve them. Okay? Go out of your way. I'm telling you, right? This is something that's really important. What can you do to serve your team? And lastly, What can you do to serve your support team? Okay, I can tell you that from your leaderships, from your Royale, your Silver, your Gold, your Platinum, look, none of us are perfect. There's no perfect leader. There's no perfect company. All right, we're all going to make mistakes. Partially give them the benefit of the doubt, but also, when was the last time you said, hey, what can I do for you? What can I do to add more value? You know, because some of them have strengths, but we all have weaknesses. I have my own. And so what can you do to add to the business, add to the team? It's interesting how quickly we are to find fault and how challenging it is to remember all the great things that someone has done to help or serve or support you in your business. And when was the last time you said thanks and just said, hey, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you're doing, for all the times that you showed up, for those presentations and sit downs, you know, or whatever it may be, or just thank you for just being in secret. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. So how can you add more value to self? How can you add more value to your customers? How can you add more value to your team? And how can you add more value to your support? Because I can tell you, if you find ways to add value to them, they will do anything to provide and add more value to you as well. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys. This particular set of actions changed my life. And I know that it can change yours. But here's personal development summed up. Know where you are today and never be there again. Because you're either growing or you're dying. There is no in between. And that's a decision, a choice that you're going to make on a daily basis. And it's one of the most challenging decisions and challenging choices to make. And one of the reasons why our business is so exciting, yet confronting, is because if your business is growing or not growing, there's only one reason: you. Because the compensation is the same for you and me. Compensation plan, the products are the same. It's not like you get a different salt and oil than I get. It's not that you get a different product than I get. So the products work on everybody. We know that. The compensation plan pays the same. It's just an ID number. It doesn't know if you come from a wealthy background or family. It doesn't know if you have a good education level or not. Our system is structured as an equal opportunity if you put the production in. Now, in the beginning, what I want to make sure you understand, you don't get paid for time invested. You get paid for results produced. And as long as you don't produce them, is as long as you don't produce them. But what's great is that here you have the time, unlike a traditional business with capital that will crush you, to actually spend time learning the skills. It's not a luck, it's skills over a period of time that if you work on you and you keep sharpening that axe, sharpening that axe, sharpening that axe, sharpening that axe, what seemed like impossible to cut down that tree, all of a sudden you're going to see those little chips start to hit away, hit away, hit away. And before you know it, you're going to be swinging that thing and you're going to be knocking down trees left and right. And the new guy, the new gal is going to come through and go, I don't know if it can happen for me. And you're going to be like, you can do it. Just stay consistent. You're going to hear people say, I'm nobody special. And what's funny is we look at them like they are. I know some of you even do that to me still. You're like, oh, Jesse, you know, and like some people get around me. I'm like, I'm just Jesse. That's it. I just worked really hard on me for a long period of time. People say, well, that's hard compared to. I just don't understand why people think 4 years of intense effort is difficult. 4 years to be successful, but it takes the rest of your life to fail. Like, why wouldn't you give yourself the time to win? So now it's 2016. 2017 is about to hit. In 2017, everybody at the beginning of the year starts their goal setting process or New Year's resolutions. I would challenge you not to set New Year's resolutions. I would challenge you to set actual goals. And over the next couple of weeks here on this Wednesday night webinar, we're going to be going over strategies from billionaires that we have learned in not the goal setting process and the goal achieving process. Because there's a big difference between those that set and those that achieve. And fortunately for us and myself and Mr. Denny and the leaders here, we've been fortunate to get around billionaires that taught us these strategies. And I got to get a chance to get them in my early 20s. And because of that, so many of the goals that we set and learning how to create those vision statements, learning how to create a compelling mission statement, learning how to go out there and create a real actual plan that is something that is workable instead of just a wishful thinking. That's what we're really excited about. So today, here's your choice. Your choice is decide, are you going to work on you? And that's really all we wanted to talk about and remind you that you can do this. And for all the people that have told you that you can and it can't happen for you, I want to apologize on their behalf because they were lying. They were. They don't know you the way we know you. Either that or their fear crept into their life and they forgot how powerful you really are as a human being. And I want to talk to not that person inside you that's been cowering. I want to talk to that champion inside of you that's been waiting to come out. That person inside of you that's irking to come out, that wants its shot, that wants its opportunity to say, today, I'm going to decide to become the person I need to be. And if you were to make a list of all the things that you admire about some of the leaders that you see today, they're kind, they're generous, they're productive, they're active. And I told you to describe to me who they were, the leaders that you look up to. And I said, tell me about them. Almost every one of you would list their character traits. You wouldn't list their skill set, which is interesting. You wouldn't say, oh, he's a great customer getter. That's not how you would describe your top leadership.
Right.
You would describe their character. Now, what's interesting is if I asked you to describe somebody that quit the business or was unsuccessful in secret, what you would describe to me was their character. You would describe to me lack of work ethic, complaining, lack of vision, so didn't get trained. You would tell me about the lack versus this. The reason why I want you guys to understand this is that each and every one of you possess both of these characteristics on both sides of the fence. The question is, which one are you living in daily? Remember, all of you have courage. All of you have fortitude. All of you have work ethic. The question is have you decided to display those activities and be those activities on a consistent basis? Because when you start becoming those things on a consistent basis, you will attract that level of success into your life. So remember, it's not what you do, it's who you become that will challenge what you do to get you the things that you're looking for. Guys, we have so much love and respect for you, for your work ethic, for your commitment, for your tenacity to go against the grain. And we know it's challenging because you're swimming upstream with a bunch of people going down to a waterfall that they don't even know that's coming. And you're saying, look, I'm going to separate myself from the masses. And we want you to know that we will be here for you with the training, with the systems, with the great environment that you need to win if you stay consistent with us on this journey. 2017 is going to be an amazing year, but it's not here yet. 2016 is here. Let's finish this week strong. Let's get this promotion this week. Let's create some more momentum this week. Let's be proud of ourselves this week. And let's work on ourselves harder this week. So let's add more value to ourselves, to our customers, to our team, and to our support. And if we all do that, can you imagine where this group of people is going to be in a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? The impact that we will make on this world, people will have no idea what's coming when this force of secret agents, of elite leaders go on there to tackle bigger challenges in the world based on what we're doing. So we just want to let you know how much we care. We love you. Can't wait to see you guys on next week's Wednesday's webinar. Stay with us over the course of the next couple of weeks. I promise you, we will set you up for 2017 that will be absolutely remarkable. With that being said, take care. God bless. See you guys next week. Bye for now. Oh, that's not it.